Hello Tokusatsu community and welcome back to Toku Topics. Today we have the premium Bandai exclusive deluxe Geartozinger from Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. Very excited for this thing. We were waiting for months for this thing to go out for pre-order because it first showed up in the show in around April of 2021 and it finally got announced to get a toy in August of 2021. And here we are at the end of January 2022 and we finally have it. So this comes from Tokollectibles, of course, and let's cut into this here. I like the Revice tape we got going on here. So interestingly, this arrived after the Candy Toy Dark Gear set, which I already recorded a video for. So that will be coming after this. But this is the actual toy that we need to work with those properly. The deluxe Geartozinger, which I could be saying that correctly. I could also be saying it wrong. I really have absolutely no idea. It's a little weird of a funky word. It's like a combination between the Geartozinger's name and then the Toji Tendo, the villains from Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. So this is basically the evil purple gun. It can read all of the gears. It comes with 6 gears, 1 exclusive, 5 just dark versions of other gears, and it's a really cool thing. So let's go ahead and open this up and take a look at it. Alright, so here is the Geartozinger's box, and I love this thing a lot. So obviously we have Stacey here front and center. We have the Geartozinger. It shows the StaCeaser Sentai Gear, which is exclusive to this release. That's the only way to get it. It's a brand new gear pattern and everything. So yeah, on the top you see it says the Geartozinger, Tozinler, I don't know. So you got a picture of it right there, and you get the 5 other Sentai gears that you get with this. So this is the only way to get to the Dark Goranger, Zyuranger, Gaoranger, Magiranger, and Boukenger gears, which of course, coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, are the 5 that the main Zenkaigers are based off of. So it does make sense that they're all here. The bottom, just a bunch of safety information stuff. On the side, you get this really pretty picture of StaCeaser. So it looks really cool. On the other side, you get a picture of Stacey, kind of similar to the one on the front. Slightly different pose. And then on the back, you just get this really awesome shot of Stacey and StaCeaser right there. So this is really cool. So I'm really happy to finally have this thing. I love that it actually got a release. I love that it can read every single Sentai gear from the original, run of the toy line. So it's just as good, if not maybe even better, than the Geartozinger here. Obviously, it's a very similar thing. We will take a look at both of them compared here and test out a bunch of sounds, because there's certain gears I want to show off specifically for the things that they do. So let's go ahead and open this thing up and take a look at it. Alright, so here's the Geartozinger out of the box here, and everything that you get. So you have the 6 Dark Sentai gears that you get, and of course, the Geartozinger itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at this thing in greater detail. Obviously, it says Geartozinger or Tozinler. I'm going to keep calling it Geartozinger. I don't know if that's completely correct, but you get it. So it looks very similar, obviously, to the Geartozinger that came out last year. It is essentially the same mold. It's just a little bit different in a couple of areas. Obviously, the little crank dial is different. It's modeled after one of the Tojiro gears instead of just the regular kind of good version of it, I suppose. Obviously, the original one is kind of modeled after Seichan, and this one is definitely kind of modeled a little bit more off of Gege, I think is how you say his name, the evil bird. So it has this kind of more of a head crest kind of mohawk kind of thing or whatever that is on the top there, but is pretty much still very similar mold. It's just this is a new piece and this is a new piece. Obviously, the main difference is just the color scheme. It's all purple with some translucent red instead of that translucent kind of green or whatever that the Geartozinger has. Same thing with the door. But functionality wise, it will work the same way. It actually has more functionality than the Geartozinger. We can kind of just don't have a lot of room here, but we can kind of show off both of these. If we move his gear out of the way a little bit. There they both are. We can kind of get a better look at them later on, but yep, same kind of thing got going on there. So, of course, before we take a look at all the different functionalities that this thing has, you probably know by now how much stuff Premium Bandai pumps into their toys, because there's a lot of voice phrases in here. There's different modes of this thing. It's definitely a little bit more involved than the original Geartozinger is, which is really sweet. But of course, you get a bunch of new Sentai gears with one brand new exclusive one, which is this one, the StaCeaser Sentai Gear. So, obviously, it has the Japanese kanji for, I think, just dark is right there, or darkness, or something like that. So we have him right there, brand new picture and portrait. It's the new Sentai Gear Dark design, which we saw, in the show a lot of times. This one is, interestingly, gear number 65. If you're familiar with how the gear number combinations worked before, they only were able to go up to 64. So they actually created a brand new, unique combination for this gear only. So we will take a look at this in the Gear Cleaner and the Gear Deleter later on, because it does, well, I wouldn't say it does anything in there, it actually doesn't. So those toys don't know what this thing is, and I will show you that. But obviously it's meant to specifically work only with this one, which makes sense. So it's interesting, because I created this brand new gear for this only, but this can still read every single gear from the toy line. You actually have to do something special for it to read everything, which I'll get into that. But everything else here is just basically the same kind of gears we've had before, but they're evil and dark now, but are only in this set like this. So here is the evil Goranger gear, which is in here because that's what ZenkaiJyu is based off of. So it's still gear number, 6 up there? So it's still, the original gear notch pattern. It will work the same way as the original Goranger gear and also the Super Red Goranger gear. So this is one of the Sentai teams that have all 3 versions of gears like that. So there is that one. Then, of course, ZenkaiJyu is based off of Zyuranger. So you get Zyuranger in here. I love the purple and silver look of all of these. It looks really awesome. ZenkaiGaon is based off of Gaoranger. So that is, of course, included in the set. ZenkaiMagine is based off of Magiranger. And finally, ZenkaiRune is based off of Boukenger. So you get all of their gears in this set, which were, kind of the sort of first batch of gears that Stacey even used when he was summoning evil Sentai. Some of these were destroyed by ZenkaiJyu in his debut fight, so that was pretty cool. But it's really nice to have them all here, and they go really nicely. I mean, I like how they did this a lot, because basically, if you want to buy this for, being a Stacey fan or a Sentai Gear completionist, you get one exclusive gear that would make sense to be in here. You get the ones based off of the ZenkaiJyus, and this is just a good selection of dark gears. If you don't feel like getting every single dark gear, you don't have to get the deluxe, or not the deluxe, the Candy Toy and Gashapon dark gear sets, which have every other dark gear. And if you have the original versions of gears, you can still unlock every sound in here. You don't need these ones. They're just a cool kind of, canon, show accurate kind of thing, just an extra little bonus. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this thing can do. Obviously, it turns on the same way. It functions like that. However, there is a different mode you can turn on by holding down the trigger while turning it on, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and just turn it on. So it is on, and I don't know, you probably didn't see, but there's a little green light in the bird eye up there, so we'll do that again. So it doesn't say its name like the Gear Cleaner does. So of course we're just in kind of the regular default mode. We haven't put any gears in. So you just pull the trigger. And you just get that same sound. You hold down. So now we are in the Stacey voice phrase mode. So now that you're in this mode, which you just activated by holding down the trigger, there was, I believe it was 4 phrases that you're going to get from Stacey by just clicking the trigger afterward. Now from there, if you hold down the trigger again, it's going to take you back to the original default mode where there's not going to be any voice phrases. And now we're back to that. Now what is cool is that there's kind of a secret sound in here. So every couple of times that you keep switching back and forth between the modes, you're going to get a third special phrase from Stacey. It's not another mode, it's just a little fun Easter egg one. And so he says Satoshi. So, his alter ego whenever he's trying to appear good in front of the grandmother and everything. And there we go. We're back to the regular mode here. So we're gonna go back to the voice phrase mode a couple of times when we try out things with the gears. But here in just the regular, no voice phrases mode, just you're playing with it yourself, let's go ahead and use the StaCeaser gear to unlock the StaCeaser transformation sounds. Alright, so that is the StaCeaser transformation sound. Now, of course, this functions like any other Sentai gear would in the Geartozinger. So you have the same kind of blast effect. You can roll the name or roll, a attack. You can do a finisher. Or a more crazier finisher. I don't know why I held that down. More crazier finisher would be doing this. So there's that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take this gear out because I'm going to now do this with, if I can get the gear out of here, I'm now going to do this with the Stacey voice phrase modes. So there's a lot you can do with the hero side of this gear, and there's a lot you can do with the Kikai side of this gear. So let's go ahead and turn it into the Stacey voice phrase mode. And then if you do the finisher, he will also say the finisher as well. So that's pretty cool, and that's just the hero side. So before we get to the Kikai side, I do want to show off... Man, I cannot get this one out of here. I do want to show off what the last thing really you can do with the hero side. So if you're familiar with how ZenkaiJyu's kind of plotline worked, kind of midway through the show, Stacey got like an upgrade, which was like a new cannon for his chest, and like got like rockets on his fists. But that had a different transformation sound than the original version of StaCeaser. So you can get that out of this. And the way that they want you to do it is a pretty interesting way to do it. So basically, we have to turn the toy off. Then we have to turn the toy back on again. So we have to hold down the trigger while we turn it on, and that would turn us into, or that would turn the toy into power-up mode. So there's a little bit of a different, activation turn-on sound there, and now we just use the gear as normal. That's really cool. I love that they implemented that in here as well, which, it makes sense that they would. So I'm going to just turn the toy back on, so we're just back into the regular default mode, because now we can show off the Kikai side, of this toy. So let's turn it back on. So what's interesting is we never really saw Stacey use the Kikai side of his own gear. We saw him use the Kikai sides of Legend Sentai Gears, which is another really cool feature that this toy has. But basically, this is how we're going to be able to summon StaCeaser Robo. They did, basically, and it makes sense. We never really saw him do this, but it would make sense that he would summon StaCeaser Robo by using the Kikai side, just like the ZenkaiJyus would use to turn into their robot modes. Well, I guess they're already robots, but you know what I mean. So let's go ahead and summon StaCeaser Robo. But there are two different versions of StaCeaser Robo, so you can do this twice. So the first time will be the regular version, and if you turn the crank again, it will be the second version of StaCeaser Robo. So that's really cool. You actually have Ijirude, you know, calling Battle Caesar Robo to battle, which is really neat. So we can do a finisher on this one. Now if we just activate it again, it will be the second Battle Caesar Robo. Alright, and then of course there is the voice phrase mode in here as well, so actually we can just leave the gear in there. And so this time, since Stacey says Battle Caesar Robo there, it does not have the Ijirude summoning sound. But it does have a finisher with Stacey talking as well. And Stacey can also summon Battle Caesar Robo the second. Alright, yeah, so that's pretty involved. And that's basically everything that you can do with the StaCeaser gear in this toy. So I've been recording this thing for like 15 minutes, just the demonstration of this, and we are done with one gear. So, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this toy. Obviously, the StaCeaser one is the most involved out of any of them here. Of course, like I said, this reads every single Sentai gear that was released in the toy line. Just want to turn it back to the regular mode there. So we're going to just basically show off the 5 Legend Sentai ones that are here. I have the Candy Toy Dark Gear set as well, but I'm not going to go through all of that in this video. That will be in that video because this is already going to be long enough. I don't want to bore you guys too much. So basically, I'm going to show off these ones, and then I'm going to show off a couple of special ones that I really want to demonstrate what they do in here from across the ZenkaiJyu toy line. So let's go ahead and start with Goranger, which of course is going to work exactly how you think it would, but it's going to have it say in the evil dark team. So let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there's voice phrase modes for the Legend Sentai, so let's just test it. Okay, there doesn't appear to be. So, I didn't think there would be. There doesn't need to be. I'm not going to do, like, the finisher attack stuff or the Kikai sides of these just yet. I'm not going to do any of the finisher attacks. You get the point of them. So let's go ahead and do Zyuranger. They're all going to be the same kind of finisher attack thing, basically like the Geartozinger did. It's just going to be a very generic thing. You can still roll the team names, though. Actually, no, you can't. I don't think that was actually saying Goranger. That was just a generic thing. So that's interesting. We'll do one finisher and see what it does. Yeah, it's just a very generic sound, so I'm not going to do that every time. And that's just the regular firing sound, so nothing too crazy there. Next up, we have the Dark Gaoranger gear. Alrighty. And then we have Dark Magiranger. And we'll show off the Dark Boukenger. Alright, so what's really cool is that while the Kikai sides are going to be pretty generic in terms of they're going to just say Big Bang, and then, it's going to have a sound, and it's going to say Boukenger again, just like the Geartozinger did. If you remember what happened in the show, when Stacey used a bunch of Kikai sides of Dark Sentai Gears, he summoned the mecha, evil versions of the mecha to fight the Zenkaigers. But eventually, because for story reasons, they needed to explain how he could not keep doing that, because he definitely would have killed the Zenkaigers by doing that. They explained it by he ran out of power into the Geartozinger because he summoned too many at once. Well, I think you know where this is going. So this toy can do that as well. I don't exactly know how many you have to summon to do it. So we're just going to do all the Kikai sides in, order here, or just kind of go through them, and we'll see if that's enough to let the toy start yelling at me that I'm running out of power. I don't exactly know how to get it, like I said, but it is something you can make the toy do. So we just summoned an evil Daiboken, let's summon an evil Magiranger. I don't think you have to do it quickly or anything like that, like Stacey did. I think you just have to do a lot in a brief period of time. Since the toy came with 5, it makes sense if the number was 5 to make it freak out. Hasn't yelled at us to stop yet. Let's see. Let's grab some more gears here. I have a couple on the side. Here's Resoldier. Well, it's still letting us do it. Alright, eventually it will yell at us, at least I hope it does. I said it would in the instructions. thought maybe if I try the door a couple of times, right, maybe it would kind of overload it. It's not doing it. Boom, we got it. Alright, so that is the toy yelling at me that it's out of energy. Let's see if it just resets. I think it just does. Yeah, it does. But there we go. That took a while. So it's a kind of a randomized sound, but it does get there eventually. It does say that you're out of energy for summoning too many Sentai mechs. So that is pretty cool. Hard to get that kind of, but it is neat that it's in there nonetheless. So that's basically all this thing does on its own. Like I said, there's just a couple little gears I want to show off and show you guys what they do here before we wrap up this video. That's already been pretty long. So that's it. Like I said, everything you get out of the box. But I'm going to bring in a couple of gears I want to show off, and let's go ahead and get on to that. Alright, so here's kind of a greatest hits of random special Sentai gears we got throughout the toy line here. So the only ones I don't have here that I did want to show off is the special, like, campaign gears, the ones that were part of that Candy Toy prize. So the Congratulations gear, which I do have that one. I just left it up on my college dorm by accident. So I have these ones here, which is pretty much every other random special gear that actually will do something in here. So we have Nanban, we have 2-Die Hero, we have the ZenkaiJyu promotional one, we have Christmas, we have one of the all-red ones, we have Kamen Rider Saber, we have Dawn Brothers, and then we have ZenkaiJyu and 2Kaiser. So you can see here, the 2Kaiser one is a dark gear. This is from the Candy Toy Dark Gear set, which I'm going to be taking a look at after this video here. There is no Dark ZenkaiJyu gear. They did not release one. But it does work. ZenkaiJyu does work, and they actually did program 2Kaiser into this toy. If you're familiar with the original Geartozinger, the original Geartozinger toy had 2 new hero sounds programmed into it, one for 2Kaiser and one for Dawn Brothers. And so there was never a sound for 2Kaiser specifically in the Geartozinger, but it is here because obviously this toy has been out for so many months after Zox's appearance in the show. So I'm not going to do any Kikai sides of any of these or anything like that. I'm just going to show them all off and just what their sounds are, and then we do have to do something special for it to be able to read ZenkaiJyu, so we'll get there in a minute. So here's ZenkaiJyu. Alright, so there is ZenkaiJyu. And it is cool to finally get something that isn't just the Geartozinger that says 2Kaiser. And it's also cool that we have a dark gear for him. So it said Kaizokuban and not, it didn't say 35, which is interesting. So I think that one's really neat. I really like that they included that in there. I wanted to bring in Kamen Rider Saber for a specific reason and not any of the other ones, because if you remember how the Geartozinger worked, there was a Kamen Rider sound and then there was a Kamen Rider Saber sound. But if you remember in the show, all 3 of them actually just used the generic Kamen Rider sound. So what's interesting is that they've actually combined both of those gear notch patterns into one sound in here. So regardless if you put in the Geo, 01, or Saber gears, they're all going to just say Kamen Rider, even though this one is a unique, different gear notch pattern than the other 2. It just recognizes as Kamen Rider, which could be future-proofing it possibly, if like maybe they want to release a Revice Abataro gear sometime this year. Maybe they're trying to future-proof it, so it will also just say Kamen Rider in here. I could see something like that happening, but the Saber sound is gone. We're definitely going to have to save the all-red one for last, because that will take a long time. So here's Dawn Brothers. I don't think there's anything in here for this one. I actually don't know what this one does, to be honest with you. Alright, so it says Shinban just like the gear leaner. Alright, so that also recognizes it as new hero, so nothing too surprising there. We have Nanban, which was that weird like sound effect one from earlier in the toy line. So basically, Yujiro doesn't like that gear. He just kind of is like, nah, don't use it. I think the same thing happens with 2-Dai Hero as well. Let's try it. Yeah, he doesn't like that one. So, I don't know why. Those two don't really work, but that's just what they do. Here is the promotional bonus ZenkaiJyu gear that came with the Enya Ride-On. So that does work as intended. Then we have Christmas, which I know has a unique sound in it because they were promoting that before this gear came out, that there was special dialogue in here for Christmas. So that's fun. You get some Magiranger presents talking about Christmas sounds, so I like that one a lot. One I do want to show off, which I forgot to grab, so I'm going to grab that really quick, is Magiranger. Now, why do I want to show off Magiranger specifically? Well, I don't. I want to show it off backwards. So if you remember the whole thing from the Gear Leaner, if you spin the barrel counterclockwise, you can get a different sound. Well, Magaranger's counterclockwise sound is Akibaranger. And while we don't have an Akibaranger toy just yet, even though the gear did appear in Superhero Senki, they have included the sound once again in here. So it's crazy, we still don't have a toy of that gear, but both toys are able to read it. So hopefully we do actually get one. And yes, it's Magiranger backwards that activates that one, if you were curious. Alright, so before we do the one that will take literally 3 minutes, as it just says all the team names, I'm going to show off how you do the ZenkaiJyu Gear. So the reason why it has to be different than the Gear Leaner is because of the door. So if you know how the ZenkaiJyu Gear works, it just plops in here and the door stays up. But because of this new head crest thing, the door does not open all the way to at like a perfect right angle. So you actually have to remove the door. And it actually says that in the instruction manual. It actually is like, go ahead and remove the door. So I don't think you should do that all the time, obviously. You don't want to like wear it out on that hinge. But what's very interesting is that there is a super sound programmed into this thing. So Stacey got an upgrade, but he never got an upgrade used ZenkaiJyu. So very interesting that they still allowed it to work in here and have a unique sound. So maybe the Geartozinger will pop up again at some point. Like I said earlier, there is no Dark Zenkaiser gear, so people are kind of speculating that the brand new Zenkaiser Black form we're going to be getting in Dawn Brothers could maybe be where that gear shows up. Who knows? But let's go ahead and do it. So yeah, there's a Cho Onkoku sound, so like super darkness sound in the Toadslayer. So that's definitely fascinating. We'll let that stand over there. It will roar at some point as we put the door back on. So you just kind of line it up there and... Oh, yep, Stacey's talking now. Let me get the door back on because we need the door back on to do anything else. There we go. So that's definitely not something I'm going to do all the time because I don't want to break the hinge on that door, especially because it's translucent plastic. But the instruction manual I was looking at before this video, and it does show like taking the door off for that. So, all right, let's do it. I can just stop talking for a little bit here as this goes on for 100 years. But it is once again, just like the Gear Leaner, it can do this as well. Alright, have fun. Alright, that was fun, huh? So, that's basically it. I think we're finally done with this thing after so long. It has a lot, for sure. I love it a lot. But there's just one more thing to do before we wrap this up. Alright, so finally I did want to show off what this does in these other two toys. I already told you it does nothing, but I just want to prove it to you. It doesn't know what this gear is. It cannot read it. It has no idea. So, yep. Eventually it will give up here in a second. Yep, it doesn't know. So, like I said, does not work in there. And you know, if something doesn't work in the gear cleaner, it's definitely not going to work in the deleter. The deleter can barely read anything as it is. Wasn't that just like terrible to your ears? Alright, that is going to do it for the Premium Bandai Deluxe Geartozinger from Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. I love this thing a lot. I'm just so happy that they not only released this toy, but that they made it so, like, you know, inclusive of the Sentai Gear toy line. If you have all the Sentai Gears from the past, this is a must-get. I mean, it's amazing to have another toy that actually works with everything, that has so many unique sounds and voice phrases as well. You get an exclusive gear with it. I just love the functionality that this has. The dark gears look awesome. I love the color scheme on this thing. I really like Stacey's character, so this, like I said, is a must-buy. You don't have to get the Gashapon and Candy Toy Dark Gear sets that go with this, because they are just gears you might already have in a purple and silver color scheme. Like I said, I love how that looks, so I did want to get all three of the sets, but this is at least the one that is the most important in my eyes of the three StaCeaser Premium Bandai stuff that's coming out basically right now. So until next time, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at LivingRichardKey or at LightningFigPR, and you can check out on my channel videos on the entire Sentai Gear toy line so far. I have reviewed everything, because I've pretty much bought every single Sentai Gear, and stay tuned for a look at the Candy Toy Dark Gear set coming up here pretty soon, and then the Gashapon set just released in Japan, so I should be getting that here pretty soon, probably for the next couple of weeks or so, and we'll take a look at that when it arrives as well. And that's all I got, so until next time, I'll see you all later. Zenroku Zenkai.